The Sannin are some of the most powerful ninjas within the Naruto universe, obviously. So is Sage Kabuto. So today, here we are just breaking down who would win in a fight between Sage Kabuto versus the Legendary Sannin. With me, if you haven't seen yet, is my buddy DygoKnight. Welcome back to the channel. It's been forever, buddy. How you been?
I'm all right. How are you?
We're here though. We're here to cook for y'all. we're here to make a meal for y'all today. So hope you're.
It's all three Sunday at the same time, by the way. It's not one by one.
Yeah. Obviously, in the title, I said the Sannin, not each respective Sannin, so I don't want to make anybody confused. But yes, the trio versus Sage Kabuto. And we are doing this in a way to make it more interesting. But it is going to be the Sannin at each of their best. Now we have to make a little bit of a handicap. So obviously we're gonna have to restrict Edo Tensei for both sides, because if we were to use the Sannin at their best, then this would mean Orochimaru from the war arc, who can summon the 4 reanimated Hokage, and obviously Kabuto would be able to use reanimation on just about everybody he brought back in the war. So to keep it condensed and not as crazy, we're restricting Edo Tensei from this video. But having said that, like I said, each of the Sannin are gonna be at their best. So this is War Arc Orochimaru, Sage Mode Jiraiya that fought Pain, and Tsunade during her fight with Madara, with the other Kage. Location is probably just going to be where Sasuke and Itachi fought Kabuto, and we might mention like a different location just, for the sake of it later in the video, but for right now, we'll just keep it
for fun.
Yeah, for fun. For right now, we'll just like swap, the fights and see who could come out on top. The benefit the Sannin have going into this fight is that Orochimaru in particular will have a good amount of intel on Kabuto. I think that kind of goes without saying.
Yeah, he's gonna know pretty much every jutsu Kabuto will have, because he's essentially using Orochimaru's powers and the powers of the South 4, which Orochimaru may not know Kabuto has access to, but once he uses one of their powers, Orochimaru is gonna know, and he's obviously knows how to deal with those powers.
So that will help them a good bit, for sure. Now, we have to do this realistically, and when I say that, I mean, if we did this realistically, obviously Jiraiya would not be in Sage Mode. Now we'll, again, just for the sake of the video, we'll mention, if he's already in Sage Mode, like if they know that they're going into a fight with someone like Kabuto, and Jiraiya and the Sannin want to play it the most safe, we'll say that during their, trip to go to Kabuto's location, Jiraiya is entering Sage Mode, and he's therefore meaning he's summoning Ma and Pa as well. And, Tsunade can be already in 100 healings, even though it doesn't really take her that long to enter 100 healings, but you get what I'm trying to say. But for right now, everyone is in their base at the start of the fight. That's going to be a problem already. I'm not even gonna like front with y'all, because the thing is, with all the jutsu that Kabuto has at his disposal, I honestly don't know if Jiraiya would even have time to get into Sage Mode.
Well, that's the problem too, because it takes time for Jiraiya to even summon Fukuzaku and Shima. So if he doesn't summon them beforehand, I don't think he's doing it. Like, once he summons them, it doesn't take him that long, but the problem is getting them into the battlefield.
Yeah.
That was what he was trying to do against the Animal Path. In the anime, it takes longer because they stretch that fight, but
yeah,
it still takes a little bit in the manga.
And I don't know, with inorganic animation, which is obviously changing the terrain at Kabuto's will all around him, especially in the cave, that's already going to be enough trouble for the Sannin and Jiraiya to enter Sage Mode particularly. And then the White Extreme Attack, which will definitely hinder each Sannin at the exact same time. Which, again, if they're all in base, I don't know. The only one I could see getting out of that really, like, as in being able to move freely, is Orochimaru, if he can, like, rebirth himself, or something like that. But other than that, like, they're all stuck in that one jutsu. And of course, Kabuto can just use Suigetsu's ability and just liquefy his body to just move through the jutsu and one-shot one of them at the worst, all 3 of them at best.
Kabuto has the Sage Mode that doesn't take him very long to enter, which is Jiraiya's problem here. So you could say, well, maybe the Sannin could try and stop Kabuto from even using Sage Mode, but how are they going to do that? Itachi and then Sasuke couldn't do that. I don't see how the Sannin are stopping Kabuto from entering Sage Mode, and it seems like Kabuto's Sage Mode lasts a really long time, because he didn't go out of Sage Mode the entire fight against Itachi and Sasuke, and that fight had a decent amount of chapters. Kabuto used a lot of jutsu So it's going to be very difficult. White Extreme Attack, Inorganic Reanimation are very, very strong jutsus that, well, the first one, if Kabuto had chosen the correct target, Itachi, that is, he would have taken Itachi down because Itachi chose to protect Sasuke. And with the Inorganic Reanimation, Kabuto literally impaled Itachi like 12 times, those stalactites.
Yeah.
So Edo Itachi was relative to Keisumo Naruto in speed. And he also got blitzed by Kabuto using the scalpel.
I was gonna say, yeah, and this is and y'all know how much of a Kieran hype beast I am, right? And this is a guy who was able to block Kieran with like one good eye when he was alive and near death, and Kabuto was still fast enough to blitz him a few times, right? So I mean, I don't know, like, and that's not even mentioning that, you know, we because I forgot about this too. Taiyu used flute genjutsu, which can definitely be a problem. I don't know how they're getting out of that, because
I mean, Shikamaru managed to break himself out of the Genjutsu by breaking a finger. It's implied that the Genjutsu is not, like, completely incapacitating because Shikamaru could use his own shadow while under the Genjutsu, but still.
But I mean, I think it's implied that it's like this jutsu is a lot stronger because it's coming from Sage Kabuto and it's not like just Taiuya. So like, but I mean, it took like 2 MS Genjutsus to break Itachi and Sasuke,
right?
And they had to look at each other at the exact same time.
Yeah,
you know,
the way I interpret that is that Itachi and Sasuke had to do something really quick in order to break out of the Genjutsu, so that Kabuto didn't get them in time. So like, the first thing they thought about was to just look at each other and break themselves out. So Kabuto, he can use the flute Genjutsu, and because he has access to Sage Mode, it's likely his flute Genjutsu is more powerful than Taiuya's Genjutsu, the original one, because Fukasaku mentions when he's teaching Naruto how to master Sage Mode that Sage Mode can also enhance Genjutsu as well as Ninjutsu and Taijutsu. Therefore, that's a powerful ability, and if it's more powerful than the original, it's going to be difficult for the Sannin to deal with, especially because it's one of those area of attack Genjutsu that can affect several targets at the same time.
That also goes the same for stuff like Kimimaru's bones, which Kabuto has access to.
Hidomaru's webs that Itachi and Sasuke have to use Amaterasu to counter, because they're very tough to counter, and I mean, the Sannin don't have anything like Amaterasu, so...
No. I mean, okay, so like, what could the Sannin do? Yeah, they only have like 1, possibly 2 win cons, but I think the second one is a lot less like, but the first one is Frog Song, because if Kabuto gets caught in it, I don't like, I was even trying to think of like things that Kabuto could do to get out of it. I don't think he can do anything to get out of it if he's caught, you know. And this is like, we're going on the side now that, you know, if the Sannin are in their respective, like, you know, forms when they start this fight. So as in, if Jiraiya is already in Sage Mode with Ma and Pa there, and Tsunade is in her 100 healings at the start of the fight, you know, how does it go? And so Frog Song would still be their best bet, in my opinion. And it's like, how would they get that off? In my honest opinion, like, the Sannin would have to do everything they can to blitz or rush Kabuto and distract long enough for Ma and Pa to activate Frog Song, which I don't see as unrealistic, you know, given that it's, you know, Sage, Jiraiya, Tsunade, who's a perpetual motion machine, especially when she's in 100 healings, and Orochimaru with all his crazy nonsense. I could see it being pulled off. Like, I don't think it's unreasonable. And I also see it just as likely as Tsunade and Orochimaru in particular trying to, like, quote unquote, sacrifice themselves. Obviously, they wouldn't die from it. Like, Jiraiya would be able to break them out, you know, or whatever when they get caught. But I could see Tsunade in particular, like, you know, sacrificing herself to make sure that Kabuto was caught.
Yeah, the thing is, when Tsunade uses 100 healing, she's very durable. Even if Kabuto stabs her from all sides with the stalactites, like he did to Itachi, she can survive that. We saw her impaled by 2 massive Susanoo swords, and she was fighting against the Susanoo at the same time. It's gonna be tough, but she can at least try and distract Kabuto for long enough, alongside Orochimaru, who can also use the skin change substitution to, you know, buy himself an extra life or 2, and hopefully allow Fukasaku and Shima to sing the song and cast the Genjutsu in time. But the problem is, that's very loud. right? That was the problem for Jiraiya. He had to make sure Pain wouldn't find him before Fukasaku and Shima managed to cast the Genjutsu, and when Pain did so, he had to, well, fight against the three paths for long enough until the Genjutsu worked.
Yeah.
And if they're fighting in that cave, Kabuto has control over the entire environment with the inorganic reanimation jutsu. It's gonna be difficult because he can pinpoint the direction the sound is coming from and just sort of alter the terrain to his advantage. And
Same
you
goes
know,
for the
they'll corrupt the Genjutsu.
Yeah, same goes for the white extreme attack too. Like if Mom and Pa can't get that frog song pulled off in time before Kabuto uses this like white extreme attack, then Mom and Pa are gonna be just as paralyzed as the Sannin are. So
yeah,
I mean, and on to that note, because we mentioned like how Kabuto cut Itachi in half, like that should sound similar to somebody else that got cut in half as well, which was Tsunade got cut in half by Madara. Now granted, she will be alive, but she'll be rendered KO'd because she wasn't able to do anything after that. And so
yeah, it took her a long time for her to get back. Katsuyu healed her, but it does take a while, so she couldn't do that mid-battle. It's not as easy as like, oh, I can just heal myself like I'm doing with 100 healings a year. No, she lost half her body, so she has to sort of like glue herself back together.
Yeah, technically, if we're being honest, like her at her best technically would be like in the pain arc, if only because she stored that 100 healings for a longer period of time from the three-way deadlock fight in part 1 to the pain arc, whereas after the pain arc where she was put in a coma, she starts storing her 100 healings again from the pain arc to the war arc, so she would have more time to be in 100 healings, I think, in the pain arc Tsunade, like with pain arc Tsunade. But even then, like, I don't know if that's enough to really survive again.
The scales that
because again, with the inorganic animation, the white extreme attack, the Taiyuji's flute genjutsu, all three of those can work on each Sannin respectively, let alone at the same time. Like, so I don't know. I'm sorry. You can ask Daigo there. Like when I was thinking about this fight earlier, I was giving it to the Sannin if only because Orochimaru would have knowledge on Kabuto's abilities, or at least for the most part. Go ahead.
Knowledge is obviously very important, like especially when you're fighting against somebody like Kabuto, has a lot of different weird abilities, but it's not going to be everything. You can know every single ability your opponent has, but if your opponent is that much stronger than you, he's still gonna beat you. Because Orochimaru has that knowledge, I guess we can be fair and talk about the frogs on WinCon, because if he didn't, like if it was like just the three San without any knowledge, even though that wouldn't make much sense because Kabuto's powers are Orochimaru's powers, so like he would know a little bit at least.
Yeah.
But anyways, if they didn't have any knowledge, they would just get steamrolled regardless.
Yeah, for sure. Like it wouldn't be much of a question. They'd be so thrown off of Kabuto's abilities, just like how everybody is when they don't go into a fight with Pain. Like going into a fight with Pain without any intel is almost a certain guaranteed death sentence. I know we said we were going to talk about them fighting in a different location, like out in the field or whatever, but I don't know if that would make the biggest difference. Like it would make a difference for sure.
Well, I guess they could use the summons, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we can say that maybe Manda's alive and they can actually use a deadlock against Kabuto, but Kabuto has Manda too.
Yeah.
Which he used against the Turtle Island and never used it again, but he says Manda 2 is literally stronger than Manda 1, and we know that Manda 1 is implied to be the strongest of the three because Manda was fighting against the two at the same time back in Naruto Part 1, and Manda's also bigger than they are, so there's that.
It's also a question like, I mean, just because they're in an open field doesn't mean that Kabuto can't use any of the jutsus that he used in the cave. They're just there's more useful in the cave.
Not.
Like, like
also the inorganic reanimation, it can work on anything.
Exactly. I was just about to say that.
It doesn't have to be like that specific cave and the walls and the ceiling and everything. He can use that on like the earth around them.
Yeah.
It can't be plants because plants are organic, but if there's a rock, if there's mud, it can use that.
Yeah. I guess the other win con that we mentioned earlier, and I think this is I think it's less likely than the frog song, is if Orochimaru is able to bite Kabuto.
What?
As weird, because he was able to bite Guru and use a curse mark to paralyze him for a little bit. But I mean, A, we don't know how potent that would be against someone like Sage Kabuto, and B, even if it is potent, we don't know how long he'll be paralyzed for, if it'll make the difference between, I mean, who knows, maybe he might be paralyzed long enough for them to, maybe Tsunade could land a solid punch on him, or Jiraiya can land a Sage or Sengon, or both of them at the same time. you know,
Yeah, because for Guru Zetsu, he was paralyzed for long enough so that Suigetsu could come in and use his water pistol against him, but
Yeah.
it wasn't that long, right?
yeah, it was not.
And even if he's paralyzed like that, Kabuto still has access to Suigetsu's hydrification jutsu that can sort of nullify Tsunade's punches and Jiraiya's Rasengan. We don't know if he can actually use the abilities as well as Suigetsu because he only uses the hydrification so that the light extreme attack won't damage him.
Yeah.
Right, he was liquefying his inside so the jutsu wouldn't affect his body. But when it comes to actually doing what Suigetsu did and countering, for example, a sword slash or a punch even, we never see Kabuto using the jutsu that way. Especially because when Itachi hits his horn with his sword, he just cuts Kabuto's horn off. And you can say that it's because Kabuto wasn't used to having a horn there. And Kabuto even mentions that, but
He does, yeah.
we don't know. Like, maybe he just didn't know how to use the hydrification jutsu as well as Suigetsu. But even if he couldn't, will Orochimaru's curse mark really stop Kabuto for long enough? And even if he does, he has pretty good healing.
I was gonna say, like, I don't
Hit
think...
him with a massive attack, like, he can probably get back on his feet.
Yeah, as strong as Tsunade is, and she is strong. Like, I'm not sleeping on Tsunade whatsoever. Like, but I just don't know if they have enough to put Kabuto down permanently. And like a couple of things, right? You know, even if you want to say at the worst case scenario that Kabuto scales at War Arc Orochimaru's level, right? Let's just say that for the conversation. EMS Sasuke literally told Suigetsu, like, hey, like, don't underestimate Orochimaru. And then another statement from another Sannin, when they found out that the reanimation jutsu had been stopped, Tsunade even says herself, like, who could have done this? Like, even if Kabuto was found, like, who would be able to stop him in time? And this is Tsunade talking about Kabuto without knowing that he's a sage. So, like,
right.
Yeah. So, I mean, that on its own is like, they should tell you, like, Kabuto's too broken for the Sannin to handle. I think that, like, all things considered, they give him a decent fight, especially going in with the knowledge they would have prior.
We haven't even talked about, for example, Kimimaru's bones or Zedomaru's web jutsu that Kabuto had access to. It was tough to fight against that guy.
Yeah, I mean, TLDR, Sage Kabuto wins, whether it's in a cave or out of the cave. I just don't think the Sannin have what it takes to permanently put him down. Again, Frog Song is probably their best bet. Or, like, maybe a combination of Orochimaru paralyzing him and then Frog Song. That's probably like their only win con. So I think Kabuto takes this one, like, I'd say like 9 to 9.5 out of 10.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there y'all have it. There's the video. Thank you so much, Daigo, for being back on the channel again.
Thanks for having me.
Be sure to like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you haven't subscribed to Daigo's channel, I'll leave a link for his channel in the description below. But thank you all for watching. Till the next one, like the snow, out.